So I'll kind of go into the demo a bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is just start Magnifier. And I'm going to switch over here to the piano. So now one of the first things you may notice as an assistive technology vendor is that I'm inside a Metro application, but yet I have UI on top. And that is specifically and only designed for assistive technology. And we did that because we recognize that there are places where you're going to need to interact and use this platform to help your customers interact on a touch device. So I'm going to press the plus button up there, and what I can do now is use, with one finger, touch the edge of these and kind of slide Magnifier around. I can zoom in and continue to move Magnifier around. I can tap both of these and zoom out, which is also available on the keyboard by Control-Alt-Space. Now, the underlying technology for magnification is the same as it was in Windows 7. The update we've really done is updated the touch interface. And we've done that in a way where we believe that you can easily use it from working on the borders. You can do things you're familiar with, which pinch zoom, just dragging around. But also the reason I opened the piano app is that I wanted to demonstrate that we really don't change anything in the usability for the user. So you can hear and see that all 5 fingers went down and are able to easily interact and not really reduce the experience for those using magnification. So again, the key highlights there really are around, yes, you can have UI on top. It really is only designed for assistive technologies. And then secondly, the interaction model that we were using really is through a custom interaction model through touch. There were several talks on touch earlier in the week, so you can go look at those and determine how to do custom interactions. Extremely useful for this type of setup. Next thing I'm going to do is go into Narrator. But as an AT vendor, you may be thinking, well, I don't really want to have to go to the Start menu to necessarily launch my application. And so some of the things that we've really done are looked at this new hardware platform, and we wanted to be able to have you integrate fairly seamlessly into this experience. And what you can do is register with ease of access, and you can then be launched by the hardware components. So you can actually press the Windows key and volume up. Excuse me, and I have it set up to launch Narrator right now, so I'll go ahead and do that.
Narrator window, focus on Welcome to Narrator. Tap twice with 3 fingers to review the full set of touch gestures supported by Narrator. Drag a single finger around the screen to hear the item under your finger. Or, on a keyboard, press Windows plus Alt plus F1 to review the full set of Narrator commands.
Now, 2 things you may have noticed right away when it started. 1, we have new voices. This is one of them. I will demonstrate a couple of them shortly. But overall, in Windows, we're looking to add several voices. 2 US English voices, David and Zira. David is the voice you just heard. A 3rd voice that we're adding is an English UK voice, Hazel. And then when you install the other language packs, there will be a Chinese PRC, a Chinese Taiwan, French, English, Spanish, and Japanese. So out of the box, we'll have much more natural sounding voices and a wider range of options.
Navigation, voice, change the speed, pitch or volume of the current voice or choose a new voice. Button, voice speed, command not available.
So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that what I'm doing is I'm dragging my finger around the screen.
Narrator window, focus on select a different voice for Narrator, Microsoft David Desktop, editable combo box, Alt plus V, shortcut Alt plus.
I can do a 3-finger tap to ask Narrator to stop speaking. And then when you're on a control, Narrator will do a few things. One, it will look at that control and decide what it thinks the best primary action is and what the best secondary action is. So for a combo box, you can activate the primary action by double tapping.
Microsoft David Desktop, selected, 1 of 3.
And it'll tell you what's selected. It'll do the action for you. I'm going to select
Microsoft Zira Desktop, non-selected, 3 of 3. Microsoft Zira Desktop, selected, 3 of 3.
So it's telling you the important things, that here's the number of items, here's what's selected, I now have the third item selected. Now that's all doing a default action. Now there's a slight shift now in the what the primary and secondary action are for a combo box, because the primary action really is to select. So I'm going to do a triple tap to close the combo box.
Microsoft Zero Desktop, selected, 0 of 0. Save changes button, Alt+S, welcome to Narrator.
Okay, so again, this is a good example of the updated voices, so you can kind of choose a male or female voice. And then again, I told you earlier, part of what I do is I work with teams across Microsoft, and really we're trying to bring the maximum fidelity to what happens throughout the entire system. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to
Title
minimize
bar,
narrators first.
minimize button.
Okay.
Title bar, minimize button. Charm bar, pane, Internet Explorer tile logo.
So what I'm going to do is bring up the start screen. And as I work my way around the start
Tweet
screen,
at Rama Tweeterma, tile.png image, stocks Dow plus 75.91, last trade, weather 63 degrees Seattle, WA, umbrella with raindrops tomorrow 64 degrees / 56 degrees, umbrella with raindrops Sunday 65 degrees / 58 degrees, Monday 69 degrees / 55 degrees, non-select.
so as you can see, it's important that even the tile updates occur. So as these tile updates occur, we can notify through the accessibility layer that they're there. As we move around on the screen, we're highlighting that component. The highlighting the component we think is very important because it really helps people who are have vision or who don't have vision, or helping people. You can really kind of see and interact with what's going on.
Weather 63, PDC.
So I'm going to open this app, and this is an HTML5 Metro style application. And basically, we've brought the full accessibility through into these applications. Now, for those of you who did not see Guy Barker's talk earlier in the week, he has an entire talk on making accessible HTML5 applications. I really recommend you go look at that. That all really flows through to exactly all of these components. And with my finger,
Seattle.
I can go down and
Tomorrow. 64 degrees / 56 degrees.
so you can see all of these pieces become very interactable. All the text flows through. All the text can be read to you.
Charm bar, pane. Internet Explorer tile logo point scale, 100. Start menu, pane. Search apps list, search box, editable text, explorable text.
So one of the things that's kind of interesting is I always kind of wondered maybe what these emoticons may mean when you look at them, because frankly I have. Uh-oh. Accept that. Sorry about that. Apparently narrator got tired.
Narrator window, focus on, narrate, minimize button. Charm bar, pane. Internet Explorer tile logo, start menu, pane. Search box, editable text, explore, emoticons, button off. Birthday cake button. Wrapped present button. Face with tears of joy button.
So you kind of see that we really try to get as high fidelity of detail as we can, all the way down to what do these emoticons mean. And that really is through working with all of these teams to help kind of integrate, continue to integrate accessibility as we go forward. So I really want to spend a little time about what Narrator is. Really, Narrator is driven solely by UI automation. I think it's important to kind of note, because if your application or your app does not directly support UI automation, Narrator will not read it. We're really focused on Windows 8 UI. If you look at trying to make the new start screen work, the charms bar as it was read, and as you look at the new Metro style HTML5 applications, we're really focused on making that a great reading experience. I've also noticed we spent quite a bit of time on touch integration and trying to make it a very smooth initial out-of-the-box experience. And then it's really about industry standards. As we mentioned earlier, or as I mentioned earlier, when you look at the HTML5 work, we translate that all through to UI automation, and that ends up being very readable by Narrator. But one thing we really won't do is we're not going to go make inaccessible apps accessible. So it really is part of working with the app developers and really kind of understanding accessibility, that you can hear all of that kind of flow through the system. So as I mentioned, there's quite a bit in the accessibility platform that's new, things that we've improved. And so I'm going to kind of start on the new side, because everybody likes to hear about things that are new. And really, touch integration is pretty critical. Now, one thing that you may have noticed is that when I was touching with Narrator, it never actually interacted with the application below it. Now, that's super important to notice, because for assistive technology vendors, we've created a touch redirector so that you can consume all of the touch messages, that you never end up interfering with the application below. And then, again, with Narrator, when we take those touch messages, we're doing a custom interaction model through touch, and then we're deciding what we want to do with those messages. So you can imagine doing anything you want by consuming those messages. And then you also have a third option, is once you've used the redirector and you've consumed the messages, you've looked at the touch messages, then you can decide, do you wish to re-inject, or do you want to take some other action? Now remember, I mentioned that Narrator itself was UI automation only. Really what we're doing is we're looking at the UI automation data, and we're saying, open combo box, close combo box. So we're driven, again, specifically only by UI automation. But that touch integration layer is super useful. And so we wanted to make sure that ATs could take advantage of that and kind of build their own custom models. And then I spoke a little bit about the hardware extensibility, the ability to use the hardware button volume up to launch your application, and that's done through ease of access. And the TTS engine that I touched on, we really wanted to make a much better initial voice, and you can imagine any accessible technology vendor taking and using those voices. Then what's improved? UI automation. We're continuing to improve UI automation, and in a number of ways. We have new control patterns, so if you're an application developer, you can describe more clearly a few areas. One, we've added a document space, so you want to more richly describe whether annotations are in there or whether you have a spreadsheet type application. Those are all there for you to look at. We also have added a new iText pattern 2 interface. We've also added a new live set of control patterns, and that's really come from the ARIA Live space. So we can really take the ARIA Live messaging, map that through directly to the live pattern. And we've also updated threading. The single thread department model works really well now. And then secondly, we've added timeouts. Timeouts are super important to the AT community. You may come across a provider that doesn't respond as quickly as you would like. So you can set that timeout and then respond accordingly to your user's needs.